Good evening, Oriole Nation. All right, well, the board's already back in open session, so we'll move on with item F of the agenda, the board mission statement and agreements read by Dr. Mino.
All right, thank you so much. When we look at our board mission, we will develop policy that is representative of our community, set goals, and lead our district by collaborating. And when we look at our beliefs and our assessments and agreements, we really are coming back to like those three up on the wall: stand up and own it, power of team, and passion for growth. Really coming back to, respecting judgment of other individuals, respecting the story, working together, leaning in on each other, and then really a willingness to always continue to learn and get there.
All right, thank you. Item G is a consent agenda. I'll entertain a motion to approve the items in tonight's consent agenda.
So moved. Second.
Okay, roll call.
Yeah.
Sure.
Sorry.
No problem.
Okay. I'm sorry. Who motioned?
Carrie.
And second.
Brandon.
Roll call. Okay. Yeager.
Yes.
Matthew.
Yes.
Huck.
Yes.
Goldowski. Yes. Geckerman.
Yes.
Okay, moving right along to item H, board members share a moment of pride. Maybe I'll start tonight. We'll go this way. So, mine is that I finally got myself to a basketball game, a high school basketball game, which is one of my favorite things in life to do. But I've been rather busy and always seem to have something to do in the evening. So I just decided I was going to do it near the end of the season, and it was great to get back. They won the game, and it was just fun to see some of the excitement and all that again. So that was mine.
I have a few on my list, and basketball game was one of them. But I also wanted to congratulate the top 10 high school students. I also attended a movie at the North Fond du Lac Theater, so it's a good venue that we have there. That makes me proud to be a North Fond du Lac in the North Fond du Lac School District. Congratulate the students that were in the solo ensemble as well. So move on to that.
All right. So I'll probably sound like a broken record, but again, we had a meeting this month, a special meeting on the Trevor Way Charter School. The amount of support from the staff, the board members, the parents, and the students is just incredible. And the passion they have for this school, it's inspiring. So I want to thank you guys.
Mine, Carrie had, so out of the top 10, that's awesome that, that it's here and that all of those student athletes, that was great to see that. And also kind of fun, so I have a son that's a junior, and just getting together for post-prom and the meeting with the parents has been fun and interesting, but it's just amazing how our community, when you tell them it's for the kids and to keep them safe, and they just open up, their, not only their pocketbooks, but I mean, it's amazing how our community supports them. So it's awesome.
Yeah, I actually have three. So first, to the chaperones of the senior trip today. I know the kids are having fun, but that's probably a lot of work taking the whole senior class to the Dells. And then the toy chess program, I saw a post. I thought that was pretty cool. But what I liked most, not only is the program cool, but I love that Mr. McDowell in Horseman High School shop students really helped or are going to help build that toad or that chest. So I think that's cool to bring it all together. And then just a special call out to our robotics program. The mentors and coaches, the team members, we're world class. Like the group, every time I turn something on, they're winning something or being shown in worlds or state. And I know that that's coming up, so best of luck to them. And the part I really liked about it, and I think it was even a quote in one of the articles, was how they're teaching like lifelong lessons, and one of them is communication. And I think that's probably one of the most important things, that our kids can learn, is really how to communicate with others and listen first and listen for feedback. So really enjoyed those two articles.
All right. Thank you very much. All right, next, for timing and a little bit of weather, I'm going to flip-flop I and J. So we're gonna go first to item J, which is horseman. Sharing, I guess, with CESA 6 for the youth apprenticeship and other, whatever.
I've not been to one of your guys' school board meetings yet, so I'm not quite sure, do we stand off to the side? You know?
Wherever you want to stand is wide open.
Students do not wish to stand, pass it out to the
Oh, come
side.
on.
They're
So,
gonna stand right here, that's okay.
and I'd just like to introduce, so Stacy Schoonover does just a tremendous job for us for youth apprenticeship. Just a little bit of background, so years ago, we just worked with the chamber, and then North Fond du Lac was one of the first that actually worked with the chamber and CESA 6 in trying to just give kids the most opportunity. And now everything, actually, the chamber has transitioned everyone over to CESA 6. So it's an awesome partnership. The start of this year, we had 22 youth apprenticeship placements and growing. So one of the things that we're really proud of is Stacy is working hand in hand with Liz Forbes at our Phoenix Academy to get all of our kids placed that way. But a special thank you, we have Isaac Weiss here tonight and Laura Miller, and they're gonna share a little bit, we're putting them on the spot about their youth apprenticeship and just to kind of share because probably like you guys, I did not have this opportunity when I was in high school, and so there's just some things that I've asked them to share. So Stacy and the team.
I'll get us started. We haven't like prepped this real well. I'll get us started. I'm just gonna pass things around the board. Community members, if there's some left, you're welcome to take some as well. These are just some, just little handouts that we have that show different pathways. And so, like I said, I'm Stacy Schoonover. I'm a college and career readiness consultant from CESA 6. Support you guys with youth apprenticeship and Inspire services. And so, who do I point to for?
Oh, I can go, yeah, great.
Thanks.
Sure.
So a little bit about youth apprenticeship. Can you tell I was a teacher before? Like, where's my cues, right? So it's a 1 or 2 year program, depending on students come into the program as juniors or seniors. And it really truly is rigorous because it is based on what the students' interests are in their career pathway. And it's a guiding for what they're going to do post high school. And so it's a Department of Workforce Development program that we facilitate for your district. So kind of giving you the nuts and bolts of the program here. So during the school year, the students have to complete 450 hours of work experience. That work experience can really look very, very different for each student. We have some students that are working at the hospital and they're working before school. We have some students that are working in the middle of the day, like these guys do. We have students that are working nights and weekends. But during that work experience, they are gaining skills. And they're taking classes here at the high school too. So again, this looks a little different for every student, but it may be that they're taking 2 career and technical education classes. They may be taking some MPTC classes. They may be taking some online classes, but they're all relating to and supporting the student's pathway. Then, and they're also getting evaluation done by their employer. And the reason that is because we want the employer to give feedback as these students are developing entry-level skills. So I'm gonna have these guys introduce themselves and give a little bit about what pathway that they're involved with right now. And tell us a little bit about your skills development too.
My name's Isaac Weiss. I got a job at Air Tech Heating, and they do HVAC, heating, venting, and cooling. It's going pretty good with the youth apprenticeship. I'm learning a lot of stuff. It's definitely getting my foot in the door early for a longer career path.
So you're in the construction pathway, and in that pathway, you completed what types of training?
Nothing so far, but once I come, OSHA training.
So part of some of the part programs have mandatory trainings that students have to complete. So OSHA 10 for construction pathway students. Some of our students, especially in healthcare, are getting their CNA license, or they may be getting licensing towards medical assistant, or whatever their pathway within the industry may be. Laura, I'm gonna let you talk about your program.
My name is Laura. I work at Mises Sheet Metal up in Oshkosh. I'm in it's like sheet metal industry, so we do a lot of panels for buildings, but we do gutters and ductwork, and there's a lot of, there's a lot of things going on at that shop. I really think this career, like getting the first part of my career started early, is really helping me a lot because I'll know what to do when I'm ready to become a registered apprentice. So they have me jumping around at the shop a lot. I'm welding and then I'm building panels all the time. So there's something new every day that I can do.
So after high school, what do you guys plan to do? Or you kind of started talking about it? I'll let you start and we'll come back to you.
I plan to become a welder or start working out in the field, putting the panels up on the buildings.
You mentioned registered apprenticeship.
Yep.
Okay.
Then, I plan just to keep on going to that company, keep on learning.
So registered apprenticeship as well. So part of youth apprenticeship really started back in the trades. Registered apprenticeship is not the only pathway, but I think my next slide has it.
Gotcha. I'm just writing notes.
No worries. Oh, and we'll talk about that in just a second, but a little bit, some other facts within your district too. So since we started working with you, you've seen actually a 650% increase, which is amazing. We actually have 30 YA students currently right now between Phoenix Academy and the high school. We also work within the special education department and helping students within IEPs meeting their goals and integrating employability schools within their graduation plan too. We service 11 different career sectors, so you can see some of the career sectors up on the board there. Within Fond du Lac County, the highest ones are healthcare, manufacturing, construction, and hopefully as pathways continue to develop, education and law enforcement too. Average wage currently for your students in the high school that are in youth apprenticeship, and I truly mean starting wage because many of the students in YA are making much more than that, but average starting wage was $14.11 for this year. And we're looking at large growth. So why would students maybe want to be looking into this and our community? Well, these guys said it right now. It's a great way to try on a job. I mentioned before I was a teacher. I believe in this program. I know your district does and your community does because it really helps kids to try out a job for a year. See if this is what they want to do and helps them to really guide either, well, it might go into full-time employment, that registered apprenticeship, or 2 year and 4 year. Because once the student's completed, they leave with a certificate from the state of Wisconsin that says, I am proficient in these skills. And so 2 years and 4 year schools are starting to look at youth apprenticeship because it is a state honors program as college credits as well. So I really appreciate your guys' time tonight. I'd love to connect further with you. I know it's time sensitive because the weather outside is frightful. So if you ever would love to get in contact with me, my contact information is up there. I'm constantly in your school district because hey, I love the small town school too as well. And I live not too far away, so it's fun to be able to support you. And not just you, but your students and their career pathways and your businesses too. And helping to help students see the opportunities right here in North Bondy. So appreciate your time.
And Laura and Isaac, can you just share, like, what's the best part of your job?
Probably the people I work with.
And can you share what your schedule looks like in the day when you leave school, when you arrive to school?
So I work 6 to 9 in the mornings, and then I leave work at 9, and then I get back to school like 9:40. So I start class at 9:42.
I start work at 7 and then leave at 9:15 and get to school by 9:30 first class.
And I just want to share too, no, I'm not getting too choked up, okay? But I love, this is about the time of year that we'll start to work with our students for next year because students are applying for youth apprenticeship right now. And it's really fun to see these guys grow and become young people, young adults, during their year. And when they first start, what are their goals? What do they want to go into? And so I have a very little hand in it, but it's really fun to look from the outside and be a part of the progress meetings we have with businesses with the students about what their goals are and to help them to develop those skills further and what their pathway after high school is. So I'm super proud of these guys, along with all of our students. It's just amazing to see where they start and where they go, and to see where they're going after high school too. So, yeah.
You had the number 30 up there. Is that just North Fond du Lac
That's
students
just
that are
North Fond du
involved?
Lac, yeah.
I see. Can you, off the top of your head, other types of jobs that, or youth apprenticeships that the kids are doing here?
Yeah. So I mentioned the 3 areas that are pretty high in our high service areas. We have students everything from finance, so working down at Fox Valley Savings Bank, Verve, Torcon Bank. SSM Health is a huge employer of our healthcare students, along with Harbor Haven, Hope Health in the area. We have really a lot of our manufacturers as well. So Wabash, we're putting me on the spot. My brain is.
I have a list.
Thank you.
So we have a student at Holiday Auto, we have SSM, we have a student at Eden Vista. We have someone at Reimers Lakeshore Mart doing marketing communications. Harbor Haven was mentioned. We have a student at Joanne Fabrics. We have a student at Tower View Assisted Living. We actually have a student who's doing hospitality, food and beverage at McDonald's. A student at Man Plumbing. You mentioned Wentz Marine doing auto tech. Fox Valley Savings Bank, Smith Builders. Yes.
Yeah, and I'll mention some of those positions too. Students come in with, but then within youth apprenticeship, they have a specific skills checklist that they have to complete. And so they may come in with that job already. Being in youth apprenticeship helps to elevate them into leadership roles and more management roles. And so sometimes I like to say it switches the gears a little bit on what is that current job and what is your responsibility. So I'll take example Walmart, for example. Some of our students work there, and right now they may just be a personal shopper. But then once again, the youth apprenticeship, what is the marketing behind it? What is the logistics? When you're looking at ordering supplies? And so it does give students a different outlook of what that job really is, instead of, oh, I'm just going to pick somebody's groceries, right? They get to experience what it is to be in management and leadership too. Okay. Other questions?
Whose responsibility, or is it a shared responsibility to go out and find these positions at the businesses, or?
That's a really great question, actually. And so students come in with or get a placement in a variety of ways. Some students already come in with a placement. Some students do need some assistance. But part of our job is my job is to help coach a student to understand how do you go and find a job. Because we want the student to find the right placement along with the business to find the right student. So it's kind of 2 ways. They may come in with one already, but they may need some assistance. And so currently right now, we actually are surveying and gathering data from our Fond du Lac area businesses on what their hiring needs are, so that we can help the students then make that connection and what opportunities are out there.
Anything else?
What year are you both in school right now? Juniors or
I'm a
senior?
senior.
Senior?
I'm a junior.
Junior, okay. And so is AirTech gonna, can you continue to work there this summer? Are you gonna be able to have some of those
So I'm
things?
gonna be able to go from a youth apprenticeship just to a normal apprenticeship. Yep.
Nice. And do they ever assist with, schooling or anything else like that in terms of cost? I mean, have you seen any of that yet?
So all of AirTech stuff and all their training that is required, they actually pay for all of it.
Nice.
So it'll all be paid for and everything.
Pretty awesome. Good. And you got another year. Are you gonna do the same company or are you gonna?
Yeah, I'm gonna end up doing the same company.
Okay. Right.
And what we'll see a lot of time is it's about 50-50. 50% of our students will stay with the company and 50% may move on for a variety of reasons. Even still, a lot of that conversation comes up with businesses during progress meetings of what does it look like after high school? Is there opportunity to support the students, not necessarily monetarily, with school support, but internships after and coming back, helping them to get connected with post-schooling, whether that is traditional 4-year or 2-year schooling, or is there some non-traditional approach to education of on-the-job training that they can do too. So that's really a common conversation that comes up during progress meetings too. We may have missed it, but April 17th, we actually have a registered signing event at the high school for Joey Thrall. So he will be a registered apprenticeship with Musa Sheet Metal, and you all are invited to come.
I love the businesses that have started doing this. We were just talking about, we went to, I think it was Adrian a couple of years ago for students, and businesses are really trying to make a big deal out of it because it's the same as a sports signing, you know, for kids, that it's a really cool opportunity for them, so.
That's very nice.
Thanks for that. They say they wanted to say.
Okay, then back to item I, an update from Bray Associates on the referendum.
Okay, you got the document, man.
I do, and I'm just gonna, I can help you out too, switching through things, Jordan.
Good.
So can I just do a quick introduction,
Please,
Jordan? So,
please.
yeah, so Jordan's working with Bray, he's helping us out a ton. We've, since the referendum, started having conversations and trying to figure out like how we can best make this next plan really great for our community and for our kids. And so we meet on the weekly with our facilities director, our high school principals, our middle school principals, just walking through, and now we've gone on tours already with our staffs to surrounding area schools. We brought some of those ideas back. We're starting to get some input in that area, but really we're making a lot of great headway here, and I think some really good progress of just working through all these different amazing decisions, but at the same time, awesome opportunities for us all. So Jordan, I don't know if you want to take us from run through things that are going on.
Yeah. Good evening, Jordan O'Connor, Bray Architects. Thanks for having me. This is a fun milestone kind of where we're at right now, so I'm excited to kind of share just some of the general high level updates of kind of where we're at in the design phase. You know, what does the outlook look like over the next few months and kind of the summer. So starting out, like Dr. Vino said, we've been slowly, I shouldn't say slowly, kind of rapidly picking up momentum with meeting with some of the staff user groups. So whether it's family consumer ed or, just last week, we met with the food service crew to start really, getting into some of the finer details of the programming of the space. So just we can go site by site. Couple general just updates, kind of a refresher as to kind of what we're all, planning for here. So Treffert Way, here is kind of the overall site master plan. The scope of work at this site is limited to site improvements, so new asphalt, kind of new green space on the north side of the property, new parking, striping, you can see how the drive-through lane kind of being optimized for safety and efficiency when it comes to pickup drop-off. You'll notice on there too, there's a slot that's been kind of in the works for newly designed play space. So there's been a potential partnership, working with Burke and some of the Treffert staff to understand the wants and needs of that space so that we can incorporate that into the program as well. We're partnering with Rattler Corporation. They're out of Stevens Point. They're the civil engineering surveying group that's been helping us put some of the site work together. They're the experts in that field for these projects.
And there has been some updates in this too since the last time.
Yep.
So just in terms of space, so this was the latest about a week ago.
It was. It's crazy. Even tomorrow, it'll probably even be different. Yeah, that's the fun part of this. Good. That's great. Yeah. So it's a constant evolution, but so if nothing else, it's fun for you all hopefully to kind of see the behind the scenes and see the process along the way too.
And this is all fenced, right?
Yep. Yeah, we have a fence that's kind of proposed around there to kind of create some of that extra boundary and so, some of the wants and needs of, just some of the play activity and how that's set up to work and, those periods. So yeah, it's coming together nice. I'm looking forward to seeing that site kind of be, refreshed over the next year or so.
All right. Move on.
Yep, and then moving over to the Early Learning Center site, so kind of just a quick background, so the overall scope of work, which is probably nothing new in most of your minds, so kind of a more or less a mass demolition of kind of the oldest portion of the building on the north side, the gym and some of the infrastructure there that's cut off, and then kind of from that point, kind of large scale, again, similar to Treffert, large scale site improvements, parking, drive access lanes, recognizing the need for parking and kind of that efficient flow. So right now the layout kind of has us coming in from the north still off Minnesota. We're working with, this is an example of, kind of some of the challenges working with other projects that are happening. There's plans for the bridge to be restructured. So kind of all that is going hand in hand as we speak so that we can all be coordinated on that front. And then, so kind of a one-way in concept, just kind of for safety and efficient flow, and then kind of a two-way out onto Minnesota.
So that black line there, that's the existing.
Yep,
building?
exactly. That line is kind of the indication of the current building footprint, just kind of for reference.
So that'll demo this summer, right? Or we're
Yep.
Sooner?
Yeah, one of the things I'll touch on at the end, kind of give you a real rough timeline of this, but, so the site improvement work and even the demolition at ELC we're expediting those components of the project to try to get those out to bid with CD Smith as soon as we can, targeting even getting documents done within the next month. We're targeting by the end of March to have those drawings ready to go out on the street. So that, looking summer or even late spring so that we can really get a good jump start on kind of all those improvements.
Just one more add too, is there was a playground in this vicinity right here. We're shifting that over to this side, the south side of the building as we get close to the soccer field there as well.
Yeah, a couple things that are, come into play as part of this as well, which, more detail obviously will become known soon, but both sites, there's, stormwater requirements that potentially become in effect based on the amount of land disturbance and impervious areas that we're dealing with. So another challenge for some of these small existing sites with, boundary limitations, but, so that's just another little fun piece of the puzzle. And then kind of some of the, I guess the more or less the brunt of kind of the referendum scope of work over at middle school, high school. So kind of this is even, it's crazy to think, but even this aerial map is a little outdated, as you probably recognize by looking at it. But kind of as largely the actual building footprint largely intact there. And then kind of here, jumping to what you're seeing in kind of just the gray color is the existing building, obviously. Any of the areas shown in red are kind of the actual addition, new building pieces. And then kind of the teal and turquoise colors are internal renovation areas within the existing building as part of kind of the overall work that's happening. And then when we zoom in a little bit, it's a little easier to see. So on Bessie Allen's side, one of the biggest needs is being addressed with, kind of down on the bottom. So I flipped you here in plan. So now north is to our right if you're looking at this, but creating these central learning pods for 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. That's these little addition pieces kind of coming off of the east side of the existing, that long hallway of kind of that repetitive classrooms. So doing a couple things. One is kind of breaking up that institutional feel, coming down kind of that main hallway, and then is creating these centralized, we lovingly refer to them as pods, with the idea that each grade level has its own little home, with 5 more or less typical kind of flexible classrooms, and then kind of anchored by a large STEAM classroom that's kind of the longer renovation program space that you'll see at the top. And then all those functional spaces are surrounding kind of a real, kind of nice state-of-the-art, like an open collaboration feel. That's kind of going with the trend of kind of creating these alternative learning spaces and creating more flexibility for breakout learning and other collaboration among, kind of all the students at the individual grade levels. A couple other items of note in each of these pods, largely identical, but a couple, we call them, small group or team rooms. So there's a couple more or less enclosed spaces there too that kind of give that one extra level of learning opportunity off the collaboration areas. Walls that can, exploring ways that divider could be opened up and create even a more hybrid working space. So it's ultimate flexibility and kind of that catering to long-term and, different ways that those can be used and adapt to the, kind of the newer learning trends.
Is there all glass in between?
A lot of glass. One of the things, I think, unless there's questions about the program, we can, even the next slide, will give you, it's real conceptual, but it'll give you a feel for kind of that, that collaboration space on there that, we're trying to achieve with, kind of the glass and the visible connection from space to space.
Can I just mention a couple more
Yeah,
things, Jordan? Two, there's restrooms in each one of these pods.
Yes, thank
So
you.
there's two, they're built in, so students don't even have to leave that area to leave. And these, again, we're talking about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 classrooms per pod, which is a great amount of space. These rooms are a little bit larger than what we've currently got, correct?
Yep.
So, which will also be helpful. A lot of light from outside coming in, so that'll be another great thing. I also want to just be remiss if we didn't talk about some of the safety features of having some the doors that are being put into the system, so that we kind of just focus the traffic in a couple different areas here. And I don't know, Dave, if you want to mention any of these, or Jordan, you want to talk about them a little bit, but just being part of the system.
Yeah, I'll just add, the idea there is, kind of to create these, securable access points, such that if there's an event happening in the gym, that, the remainder of the balance of the school can be secured off from it. So people don't have free reign of the school during those times. We'd be creative and not mess with fire codes and things like that. That's what we're sensitive to. But, kind of the two spots on the north and the east and west of kind of the main hallways there allow us to, kind of differentiators, separate those two areas for that program.
And just a couple other things, some just relocation, and reusing space, because other space being open, looking at our special ed regions and specifically in our ID world, opening up more space for our students in that area to allow some more flexibility and more space within that for them. So moving from this location right here to these, 3 classrooms join. Mike, am I correct? I just want to make sure I'm saying the right stuff here. And then we're still trying to figure out flexibility of this classroom, what this could be. When you start moving, you have more flexibility to move other spaces. We're still working on the FCE work and trying to, make that as safe as possible with what we've got. But that's another thing that we're trying to look at in terms of adding a little bit more space in there. So for safety purposes of those kitchens and locations that we have.
Yeah, how can we make that usable and safe and, be conscious of kind of the, full scope of work and how much money is there for that piece.
There's also 2 other rooms in here that, if you notice, that are still in the existing, that we're still trying to figure out, we're gonna have the ability of having 2 other flex rooms in between. Some of the talk right now, just initial, is maybe a little bit of a workroom for staff initially, and then another flex room for other, students that we can work in and out of there as a possibility. So a lot of different, nothing's been solidified in that region, but just, potential for other options.
And so there's no door on that east side anymore? To outside,
Which side?
Down the bottom,
On the downside?
where the,
on that
towards
side,
the pool.
right? Yeah,
Right,
towards the
yeah.
pool.
Yeah, so to answer your
yeah.
question,
Yes.
so right now, kind of in the middle there, that's where the vestibule and kind of that entrance is on that side right now. So
Yeah,
yes,
yeah.
you're correct in interpreting that. Each of these pods will have exterior access off of kind of that same side as well. If that answered, yep.
See the little doors up
Sure.
here? Bottoms. Okay, any other questions on this before we move into the? All right, so this is, Jordan, go ahead.
Yeah, so here, so then this is kind of just a conceptual little rendering, so that we can look at, we're exploring things like, natural daylighting, how can we bring in the, natural light all the way into that central space? Kind of with the three-sided additions, it lends itself really well to being able to do that. If you place your windows and you can really bring that, you can borrow that light all the way in. Some of the tours that, or some of the schools that we toured with some of the staff members, there were some really nice examples of that we tried to mimic. And in fact, I think this is, some of the spaces that we're doing here, and even kind of those, I mentioned the SGI spaces, kind of anchored, that's what you see on the back wall. Even that, just kind of that connection, it's just gonna bring that light in and just really create a nice dynamic space.
This is
Right,
not,
yeah.
this is not necessarily the furniture, this is just an
Yes.
addition, okay? So
Thank you,
everybody
yeah.
knows that as well.
Yep, and creating, some of the aesthetic or, some of those, accent elements with the ceiling and lighting. There's lots of strategies that we can do to really make those places where kids want to hang out there, and they feel like that's their home then when they're in their, they're in their sixth grade pod,
Okay.
All right, and then, so then moving to the high school side, some similar programming things here, kind of way on the far west end, with kind of classroom extensions. This is, kind of an addition off the two-story, academic hallway here. Kind of looking to add that program. So kind of 3 classrooms, first and second floor, kind of a common public toilets with an additional, more private, like single user toilet concept to try to meet some of those needs and that have been identified. And then again, kind of the similar concept of this collaboration area, which kind of also is dual purpose as the circulation path, kind of through the extension of the academic hallway, with a couple of, small group or team rooms that kind of anchor around that perimeter then.
Any questions about that? Okay.
This little snapshot of the high school kind of highlights the remaining areas that are part of the scope of work on the high school side. So kind of in the lower right, if I were to start there, what we're looking at there, that's kind of the addition piece off of the current cafeteria and commons area. The area shown in red is basically the expanded footprint of that space to allow for greater seating capacity and more flexible table arrangements for cafeteria and commons events. And what it's doing is creating, excess footprint for those spaces, so that the area on the inside there, that turquoise color, is the footprint that's representing the new kitchen servery area, that kind of auxiliary space, so that when food comes from the middle school side and they're serving it, their fixtures, their coolers and things like that are gonna have this more permanent home. And it's gonna create basically kind of like this centralized hub for the serving periods for traffic to kind of flow in and out of the servery, and, kind of anchor that whole side of the cafeteria.
And remember, we've noticed in the past where the servery is pretty much out in the open here. Having that ability for students to walk in and then exit right here and get to location right away.
I was gonna ask about that existing wall of windows there.
Yes.
Is that, how are you gonna rework that?
Yeah, so it's been a challenge. I mean, because anybody that's been in there, I mean, that's a great space. I mean, all that light that's in there, that wall of windows is so key. So that's largely kind of why the design has kind of ended up with this concept, as opposed to, kind of keeping the seating area internal and having the, logical step would be, you could use some of that footprint for the servery, but that dynamic of that space is so important to that. So So the goal is to, kind of keep that presence, not really modify that, but keep it as open as possible, kind of to the addition, so you still have that feel. And then even more so when you get out into the actual, new volume. So there will be a snip as part of this that kind of shows, similar to the middle school side, we have a conceptual, feel, image of kind of what is that new space gonna look like beyond where those walls are currently.
Okay.
And then, maybe real quick, we kind of talk about kind of the other side over, recognizing the need for an extension on the kind of the weight and fitness area. So that's what we're showing in red there, knowing, kind of how important that program is and getting the additional space needed for that. And also highlighting the storage needs and being sensitive to that to make sure we're not, losing too much of that. The concept we are exploring right now is slightly modifying some of the team locker rooms with some of the expanded showers that aren't utilized as much as they may have been in past years, to try to capture some of that space back and utilize that for some of the storage needs of, Phi Ed and, various other sports programs.
And just so you know, there's like a big storage area right here currently. And so trying to find more space for that. I'm doing these remodels on these two areas that they can make that happen.
And then kind of conversely, then upstairs, we're exploring ways to, work the second floor building footprint as well. So the current wrestling room, to try to expand and gain some of that square footage over the existing building footprint as well. So there's lots of fun structural challenges there, even building code stuff that, comes along with expanding, new building over existing building. So we're in the process of kind of vetting out the options for how we can, really try to maximize the space up there and the second floor off of the, kind of the gym mezzanine for the wrestling program, or, what other else uses might benefit from that additional square footage. And lastly, one thing I'll mention quick too, something it's been a fun development over time. So where the servery footprint is off of the Commons Edition on the second floor, we're kind of a little snip above it there, kind of off of the open hallway that goes along the cafeteria Commons right now, exploring a way to expand that square footage above the new servery to create additional, circulation or gathering space. That could be a fun dynamic that kind of then overlooks the cafeteria. So that's been a fun development over the course of our schematic design also.
And that's kind of it, right?
Yeah, so here's that feel, so there's some structural challenges. So some of the windows, there's some modifications that will just inherently have to take place for that, but it's so important to keep that, as many of those windows as we can, keep that as open of a flow and connection to that addition piece, and then kind of mimicking all that glass storefront along the perimeter to just kind of make that feel as cohesive as possible.
Is that little store going away, or is that still?
It's still there,
Still there?
just off to the right here.
Yeah, it's just off to the right, but the intention right now is to keep that as is and not disrupt kind of that element. And then here's a snip of kind of how the weight room and fitness element could be, kind of slightly rethought about the equipment layout and just kind of that expanded space, getting, trying to bring that natural light in there, getting it. One of the things I didn't mention, but the plan kind of shows, that's where that addition is going is really close to Prospect, and, kind of the zoning setback is there. So we're maximizing every inch that we can kind of out in that direction, and looking at the opportunities to flood that with glass, have those be operable such that they can be opened up on, hot days. And then the terrace and turf out in front can be used for kind of like a breakout area in those, when weather would allow. So it's, there's some precedents that we kind of explored as the school tours, and I really am, excited about this piece of the project too.
lot of light too. And again, these are like, almost like garage doors. Mayville has something very similar when we toured. Kind of just, again, it's pretty, it pops pretty
Oh,
well as well, so.
So then real quick, I'll just kind of, like I said, we know we're hitting it hard with getting into that kind of the phase we call design development right now. So we're meeting with staff user groups, we're identifying, some of the decision makers or people that are gonna have input on that. Just last week, we kind of did a little bit of an update with the middle school staff members that Principal Gonzalez identified. This coming week, we're gonna do the same thing with some of the high school staff. Keep everybody informed. We're looking for any and all opportunity to get that feedback so we can consider, everybody's wants and needs and try to incorporate that in so everybody's, real happy with the product. But, so this is the original timeline when the referendum passed. So the design phase was originally going to be, basically from the election, kind of through this summer, with, then when drawings were done at the end of summer, kind of bid out September. And then, kind of fall and winter was, kind of getting contractors lined up for looking to, start first thing in spring of '24. So then next slide though kind of shows how that's been modified a little bit. So I mentioned that we're kind of accelerating kind of the Treffert Way and ELC pieces of it. So that's kind of landing here March, April. We look to have that piece of it done as soon as we can, just so we can get the momentum on that. But even for the high school, middle school piece, we're looking to bump that up from kind of late summer in August. We're looking to have that done sooner, around June, so that we can, same thing, kind of try to take advantage of some of the, getting some of those contractors, queued up for that work. The contractors will be busy in the summer, but looking ahead, we're trying to take advantage of kind of their workload outlook into the fall and kind of the following year sooner. So that kind of dominoes then with project bidding, kind of to end of the summer for that. There will be some construction that starts happening for Treffert and ELC, like we mentioned. And then, ultimately, I think, for the high school, middle school work, just by nature of the, school schedules and kind of that overall school calendar, I foresee probably, even though having drawings done, maybe some of the work can kind of start to procure materials or, get on some fabrication schedules, but a lot of the construction, for obvious reasons, will probably still fall in line with, when school lets out in spring of '24. So, but all things considered, on track and looking to kind of, like I said, take advantage of some of that timing so that we can set ourselves up the best we can for it. So high level, but I'm happy to answer any questions, but, I'm glad I was able to just kind of give you a little bit of a sneak peek or snapshot of where we're at.
Oh, it's good to see the schedule like that because that impacts that financing.
Mhm.
We don't get taxed on it. Not on time, so.
Good.
I think it looks good.
Great.
I just don't want the color to be red inside.
That's been, I think, echoed by a number of different folks already. We met with interior designers the other day, and maroon has to go is the statement. So they know that we're sticking with our school colors as best as we possibly can. So yes, great statement. Please quote that. And we want that in the next workshop. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Jordan. Appreciate
Absolutely.
it.
Thanks for having me. I look forward to sharing other updates along the way.
Thank you, Jordan.
Yep.
Appreciate it.
Okay, and then we're back to item K, the Horace Mann High School Student Council reps. Believe they were on their senior trip today, and I don't see them here, so they're probably not even home yet, I would guess. So we'll pass on that one then and go to item L, the clerk's report.
So I have no correspondences tonight. Donations for Backpack Buddies with all tools, NDT, $1,000. Wayne and Janice Shingen, $50, and Howard and Sharon Freiberg, $100, again for Backpack Buddies. So thank you to them. That's all I have.
Okay. And then item M is the citizen comment section of the meeting. If there's any citizens here that would like to make any comment to the board, I will open that at this time. All right, and then we'll close that and move to item N, student behavior update from FLC, Bessie Allen, and Horace Mann, administrators.
All right, you guys are on.
Do you have edge on that?
I can get that up for you. I'm gonna let you guys log in so you can have it under your.
Yeah.
Does someone want to sign in under there?
Yeah, if you just go 1137.
Yep.
Click that blue button. And then click the blue button again, and then just line up with your school email.
I'll be able to do it this time, or?
Yeah, you should.
Okay. That's fine. Yeah, of course. Is it on there?
Should be Adam, does he have the achievement dashboard?
Let me just add that real quick here.
You're welcome.
Dr. Meow, I'm sending you refresh and
One more.
yeah, one more time.
Okay, yeah, so AD on the left,
Sorry.
right there, right below students 3D, yep, that one. And sure.
Right.
And then scroll down to district discipline data. And then scroll down all the way, or you can click FLC discipline on the
All
left.
right.
Yep,
There we go.
all right.
Perfect. All right. Well, as we look at, everybody in the room, I'm Brad Rank, Assistant Principal of Friendship. Looking at the behavior data for our Friendship Learning Center, we'll just kind of start off on the right. You can look at the different majors and minors that we've had this year. We've had 43 students this year with majors. So the big piece there is to look underneath. When you look at 21, 22 to this year, we're down 25% in terms of our majors where we are right now, which is pretty good success there. Same with the minors. When you look at the minors, we have 87 students with minors. We're down 31% in minors this year. So a lot of good improvements there. Just a lot of good things going on right now at Friendship in terms of our SEL and those types of supports that we have going on that is really replicating that type of decrease in behaviors. As you can see, that kind of translates into our percentage of students with majors. We have 6% of students with majors right now. So we have a building of 658 kids, and 6% of them only have majors, which is pretty awesome. We look at the minors, we're at about 13.6. Again, a little bit more up, but those are just some teaching and learning opportunities as well that we go about each day, trying to get better in those areas. And then as you scroll a little bit more, we have our attendance rate at 93.3. That's been tricky this year. It is a difficult thing. We've had a lot of flus. Kind of hopefully got over the hump of COVID a little bit. We've had a lot of flu this year, a lot of strep throat. Our littles get sick quite often, pretty quickly. So we feel good about that 93. It's hard. It's just a lot of love, connection, and support with our families to try to work through a lot of things right now. we have some understanding, but it's difficult. Those are hard conversations. So, that 93% is a lot of work for my families and just different staff, and it's a team effort for sure. So.
And then I just passed out, I know we were asked this question last time, like what would you attribute to the data being the way that it is? And so I just kind of tried to highlight some high level things that some of the things have been in place since last year, but some of the things are newer this year. So specifically number 3, we have some high school students coming over to mentor our kids, which has been so fun to just see a lot more traffic in FLC this year. So they come over at various points throughout the day, and that's been a really neat thing that we've implemented this year with the support of the high school staff as well. And then we're dabbling again in what we call a low intensity space. So that's a space that we station with members of the SEL team. So if we have kids that we're noticing are having difficulties at various points within their day, we're trying to be proactive and give them the support that they need in that setting, which sometimes is one-on-one, sometimes it's small group. I think we're in maybe week 3 of implementation, so it's still relatively new again, but we're able to make it work, and it's a lot of collaboration and teamwork with our staff for sure. We also have a teacher mentor program, and we have 56 students who are currently paired up with a mentor. And then just obviously always want to shout out to our staff. I mean, I can't believe the things that we see on the daily where people are always going the extra mile to just make sure our kids feel that love and support and sense of belonging.
Any questions for FLC?
The number of calls are really down too.
Yeah.
Nice.
And I always think too, it's like that number of students that it's dropped significantly for too. And I think again, that's a big testament to a lot of the proactive things that we're trying to do.
Thank you very much.
Do you want to get to
Yeah, so you
BAMS?
just click on the top to BAM.
Yep.
And so you'll see very similar data points that we saw for FLC. So at BAMS, if you see on the top right there, 59 students have been referred for majors. And again, majors are office handled incidents. And 75 students have been referred for minors, and those are classroom handled incidents. And then in comparison to our population, 18.7% of our students have had majors and 23.8 have had minors.
Carrie, just a quick question, are you down from last year? Is this what this is saying right here?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. So it's saying that that's 22%, we're down by 22% from last year on majors and 29%, so almost 30% there on minors.
Awesome.
And then as far as our attendance goes, we are at 90% of full day attendance. So that's sitting in the classroom, full day attendance for our students.
5 days a week. So 90% of our students attend 100% of the time, 5 days a week, without missing any part of classes or whatever.
So I think one of the wins for us at BAMS is that we are kind of taking a look, well, and at the high school too, but we're taking a look at how our discipline processes are and whether they align with being more trauma informed or trauma responsive. So our AMP team is doing a book study on implementing some trauma informed schools. And we're also starting to incorporate what we call restorative circles. So getting the students together that are engaging in some of the behavior and trying to repair that harm with one another. And so we've had a couple successes with that so far.
Our number of out-of-school suspension incidences last year was 21 incidences. This year it's 4. We're really trying to keep kids in school, do restorative pieces, but also holding students accountable for their actions without just sending them home. So we only out of school suspend for like really dire circumstances. And I'll just leave it at that.
And questions on the data there?
Well, it's pretty amazing improvement.
Mhm.
And I think as we move forward in building relationships with our students and improving that culture with our students, I think we'll continue to see this go down. We know that having that connection with students really plays a huge role in reducing discipline.
And the one thing I want to add is Mrs. Nitz has been fabulous. It's in her dual role, because she's also a mental health navigator, so she provides a different avenue than just being with the students and focusing on discipline. So she's wonderful. And I just want to put that, take notes. It's a lot to do with her work, so.
Numbers bear it out.
So now I'm done.
You're good, yep. Samantha, wanna come up?
Flip it.
Yep. So, one thing in meeting with Adam, we have a couple snafus in our data here, for the high school, and it's coming from, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, Adam, when we're pulling information, all of our data gets entered into Swiss, and then Swiss, gets pulled into EduClimber. And so we have to work on our process, and kind of figuring some of that out. So some of this isn't 100% correct, when we were kind of looking through some of that stuff. But given what the data says right now, we have 56 students who have had majors, which is an increase from last year, an 8% increase. But again, like I said, in looking at that, that's probably about 11 students too high when I just kind of looked at some of the data, however that's happening. Yeah.
We pulled a list of students and are just trying to figure out with Adam, why there's one student that's duplicated, but there was one student that indicated that she had 9. She doesn't. She has 4.
Yeah, there's a couple of
So we're
those.
not sure why it's pulling. So we're gonna continue to work with Adam on that.
So then the minors, we've had 59 students with minors, and what you'll see here is that's an increase of 100%, but that's skewed because we didn't enter minors into EduClimber last year. So that's why it's saying there's an increase. So there's nothing to compare that to from last year. So don't let that alarm you.
Well, and one of the things, like you mentioned, so as a district, so we met in summer, K-12 with Adam to really look at our processes, because every building was very, very different in how they kept track of discipline. Middle school and high school had used a lot of the program called Swiss, which uses major and minor definitions and behaviors. And elementary was different than us. And so we really wanted to regroup and say, hey, wait, we're not similar. So we had one meeting, we're looking to have another one. But in the meantime, the principals met with Kiri and others and really went over some of our processes to say, okay, who's putting the data in, for example, at the high school. So Sam Flood enters everything from our referral form into Swiss and into Skyr, so it's one person. So we just, again, reviewing all those processes to make sure that it's most accurate, and then figuring out sometimes when, Adam has to do a lot of polls because some of these systems don't talk to one another. So it makes it a little bit tricky. I'm just glad for us that we have data, because one of the things that we've encouraged the high school staff the past couple of years is, we know that your schedule is crazy, but what's the easiest way we can ask you to input data so that we can work with students. And then just a couple things with our discipline data, like Mike and Kiri mentioned, the restorative circle piece is huge. We, for a couple of years now at the high school, have really tried to stay away from out of school suspensions, because we know either it's a vacation or it's really not doing any good. So there are some severe cases or situations where that has happened, but we really want to keep the student in and work together on what's the best process to support that student. One of the other things that started last year is a program called Handle with Care. So anytime a police officer in North Fond du Lac, we're still hoping to get a little bit more because of where we are, the county and Fond du Lac officers also have contact, but the North Fond du Lac Police Department knows if they have any contact. The email that we have is a Handle with Care email, and then Kiri receives that, and all we do is we email to the teacher, Handle with Care. They don't get any additional information, but it's just a little bit of that, light bulb, ooh, I need to to provide some extra sensitivity to that student, that maybe something happened. And, it's a work in progress, but when we do receive that from the police department and be able to send that out, I think that's a really helpful thing.
So I understand the numbers, you're working through the issue. What's your sense, if you had to say you're at about the same level, like the other schools are down 25%, are you down 10 or up 10? I mean, what, not exact, but just what's your sense?
I think it's hard for me to answer that because I wasn't in this role last year, so I'm not.
And I do think that we are down. I think sometimes at the beginning of the year, we have a couple new teachers. So then, just that question of, support and working with them with Oriole ways in the classroom. And both Carrie and I have done that with our new teachers. So they might have had an increase in, reporting in the beginning of the year for that. But overall, we have really good kids. And, when they have stresses and situations, the restorative circle piece, I think, is really huge. High school kids are dealing with social media, and often people don't think before they post something, and then they come to school and they're upset, or, they've had a bad day and you name it. So, I do feel like it is down, office traffic per se.
Thanks.
Any other question?
I see the attendance percentage is down from the other schools. That kind of common with high school kids being a
Yeah,
little more independent, maybe.
yeah, and it's usually, so, elementary school, has usually better attendance, and then, middle school, it kind of decreases a little bit from that, and then you see at the high school, yes, it decreases from that. One thing that, we are working on in the high school is, how we're gonna manage some of like our tardies and things like that, because we do have a lot of students who are spending time out of the classroom. So that's based on seat time in the classroom, and we need to improve on that. Obviously, we know that time spent out of the classroom doesn't convert well into, good academic standing and things like that. So, we are absolutely working on that and looking at different ways that we can help improve the attendance of our high school students.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
Tiffany, do you want to share anything, like just updates in terms of walking through the behavior process and looking at that? I know you were working with Nick a little bit and just with the board so they can kind of get a gauge.
Yep, so I've been working with Nick Bertassi from Works this year, and we're in the process of kind of developing a way to track behavior and our data and information at Treffert Way. So parts will be similar to the other schools and parts might look different, but definitely putting a process into place that we can track and have hard data and information on how our students are doing when they're at school, when they may be working from home, as that's an option for some of our older students that we acknowledge, but just kind of keeping track of like, what is maybe the reasoning they're working from home that day? Are they getting as much work done from home as they would if they were physically at school that day? So we are definitely in the process of developing this, and hopefully in the next few weeks, we'll have a pilot that we are working on and have some information to share with you.
Thank you. I'm sorry for putting you on the spot, but
No, that's okay.
make sure we know that. All right.
Okay, thank you all. Item O, the superintendent's report.
I think you were saying that if they wanted to slide after that.
So as Rick is sharing, if you need to go or travel or please feel free, you can go at this point in time, administrators. I know you put in long hours, so if you need to do that, please feel free to do that. And the board, we've talked about that too, so.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
All right.
Okay.
So feel free to stay tuned. All right, superintendent's report.
Yep.
Okay, so a lot of stuff coming up. I think it was mentioned top 10 was last night, in Horseman. We'll talk a little bit more about that, scholarship winners, selection of, valedictorian and salutatorian in the upcoming months. So this is stuff forecasting for future. Other big things that are going to be coming up is a little bit about Panorama and what that has provided us already. We did a staff Panorama survey, basically a survey system so we engage, climate, feedback, other things that we can kind of get some touch points on where we know where things are at and want to share some of that out the following board meeting, so you can start seeing that. We're gonna look at surveying some of our families tomorrow night already at FLC as just a prototype and a pilot, just to see what we can see. I know they've got people coming in for parent-teacher conferences, so we'll get a little bit more in that world. I don't know when we'll get to actually interview or surveying our students yet, but that might be before the end of the year, so we at least have a baseline, and then we can look again at the fall of the year, and then again spring the following year. So the tool is starting to be used. It's very nice to be able to use that and get some data quick. We had, I think, 78% completion of staff, completing it all, which is a pretty high number in terms of survey, and that's talking about all staff. We're talking about facilities, administrative assistants, nurses, you name it, throughout, and not just teachers. So, but it distinguishes between teachers and staff though as well. So we can see those two different breakdowns. We are also able now to see by building. So we know it's going to be at like FLC's data versus Horace Mann versus Treffert's versus district wide. So that'll be something nice to be able to share too, to see like those differences and so how we can get better. Our focus though, as I'm going to share out, was whatever we get, we need to use. Whatever that data is like how might we then, if we're down in one category, what kind of things can we do to pick that up percentages so that moving forward that we can also show people that we're growing within our work. So that's more next time around. The other big thing that we're going to share out is a little bit of the safety team or safety committee that we have, and we've been meeting on the regular since the beginning of the year, just trying to articulate, what is our plan, and looking at the old plan, the engagement plan, and modifying it and changing it up, but getting all of our players in the room at the same time. So when we have FLC, Trefford, Horace Mann, everybody's talking the same stuff. So we'll have a packaged, idea for you called the NFDL crisis, plan. Okay. And a couple different players from that community are to come forward and share some of that. We had a really good meeting tonight. We're almost done. We're just fine tuning some language, but I'm really happy how things have gone. And honestly, the work has also helped us in past events recently of just communicating to our families, communicating to their staff, where we didn't have a system where some of those things were in place. Now we've got things where we can just go to, and the operation efficiency and also getting to people, that communication has been a great uptick for us. So we're happy with the development in there, but it takes a while to get to that spot. We've got members from the community in that too, from the village, not only our SRO, but fire department, other people weighing in on that as far as just so we're as safe as much as possible. This also includes ELC too. I failed to mention that. They're also part of that conversation too. So more to come in next month's, but that's just a little preview of a couple of bigger things that are coming that way.
All right, any questions? Okay, and then item P, new business. First one is to discuss and consider moving March's Board of Education meeting to March 20th due to spring break beginning on the 27th, which would be the fourth Monday of our regular scheduled meeting.
So for the convenience of people being around and, being able to also have staff and other people around to be able to be there as well. And then future forecasting of looking at our schedules so that we avoid some of those things. We just want to, move that back a week from the 27th to the 20th so we have people in the area, because there might not be as many people during that time. And I hope people can have that time for their family and as well as for travel.
Okay, and I'll entertain a motion to change the March meeting date as indicated. Second. And then roll call.
Matthew,
Yes.
Grabowski, yes. Jaeger,
Yes.
Keckerman,
Yes.
Hocker.
Yes. All right, item 2, discuss and consider recommendation for the Trefford Way High School.
Right, so now a couple weeks ago, was it 15th or February, so I'm trying to get my dates right because there's a lot. We had individuals from Trefford come in and speak about in the new charter high school and the potential of new charter high school, and they gave a great presentation of the possibilities and what this could look like. They even threw some logistics in, but they're also just, again, making sure everyone knows that there was a grant already adopted, or I mean, not adopted, but proposed back last year so they could get this opportunity to continue to look at this. And so the question at hand is, does North Fond du Lac move forward with a charter school at the high school level? And I'm just going to give you my recommendation so that you guys can have that conversation and discussion as far as where we're going. Obviously, I've been fortunate enough to listen to a lot of different players. I was fortunate to listen to staff. I was fortunate enough to have conversations with parents in 2 different parent meetings. I've seen now the Trefford crew actually come to the board twice. I have conversations with Dr. Patterson. I have conversations with other players on the board frequently. Talk to Tiffany quite a bit as well. And when we look at the greater school and how, again, just for context, historically, I feel like just coming in, I felt like Trefford has been kind of on a separate island. And what we're really trying to do is bring those groups together as a district. And so as a district, I think it's really important for our kids to continue to have experiences that might differ a little bit, but have the same, learning potential moving forward. And so I'm really saying to y'all is I'm recommending moving, forward with a new high school charter school for North Fond du Lac. I am excluding the name at this time for further conversation about what that name could be for a lot of different reasons. But I'm also not going to get into logistics right now to say this is, where this is going to be or how many people are going to be playing in that, because we're still figuring that out too. But we've got options for those things. It's not like we don't have options. I think the team put together some really good, ideas for that, but we're also looking at from, the whole scale and the whole district so that we can make the best possible decision for us moving forward. I think by bringing in a charter school at the high school level, it's got a potential to open up to a lot, maybe many more students who could engage in this awesome work and learning, but it also gives people choice, which I think is an important part in any school, that they have that ability to make that happen. And I hear that from not just our staff who's been so committed at the elementary level, but also from the parents when listening to them. And we asked them on that first night, or both nights, just what do you want for your learning for your child? And it was all the things that we would want for our kids too, as that collaborative student agency where students are really building their learning and learning to learn within their regions. All these things are great opportunities for our kids. And so we don't want to close the door on that. And I think we've got an awesome chance here to really move forward as a school and our district together with this proposal.
All right. Any comments from the board members or any thoughts? I mean, I guess I'll start. I think this has been the whole Trefford experience has been something very special just from the start with the staff who initiated some of the early planning and got involved with the concept and Dr. Trefford's ideas. And we hear from parents and that about how their kids are thriving and growing with that concept, and to be able to, and I know there's some decision making that'll have to come as far as the high school, but I can't imagine that it would not be the same type of value to not only current Trefford students, but maybe a whole variety of other students too that can benefit from the concept. So I'm fully supportive of this as well.
Yeah, I am too. I think a thing that we've been missing up until recently is I think Trevor's been on an island. And I think, Dr. Mino, you're bringing them into the district. I think we can have a lot of value added by what they're learning. I think that'll just continue on to the high school level. So getting them more into the family, learning from what they're doing, I think just benefits the whole district. So I'm in support of it as well.
Yeah, like seeing all the support here from everyone, and I see no reason why we can't expand to the high school level.
Oh, I was gonna let you go.
I do, support this also. I'm excited for the future of not only Treffert or whatever it's going to be called, but the new high school, the charter school, but also the collaboration, as kind of everybody has mentioned, with, just the collaboration and how everybody can learn from each other. So I think that's a great opportunity for everybody, not only our students, but actually all of our teachers and staff and, everybody that will be involved in it. So I do have to say my biggest concern is always budget. And I know that right now grants and that type of thing will keep it afloat, but that's still, I'm gonna be honest, it's still in the back of my head. So, hopefully we will come up with, something and the funds will be there to continue that. So I'm excited about it.
Yeah, and I'll just, I always think about anything new and do we have the right people? Is it the right time and do we have the right place? And they're all checked, right? So nice work to that team. And I think to Vicky, a valid point, but I think going back to the people that we have, we'll figure it out. So.
I guess there's one more statement too. Being in charter school arena for the last, 20 plus years, there's so many great takeaways for the communities that get to bring them into their arenas. Obviously we got to figure out financial, pieces, but the learning that can happen. If you really think about like charters and the way that they are research and development labs that can only make the rest of the system stronger or vice versa. And I think I mentioned the last time that we had the meeting, I think, Tiffany, you were presenting at our strategic planning and you're talking about like just the plans and, and how some of the people who were in different buildings in our district were like embracing some of that work, like, oh, I never knew that before. And so we can learn a lot from each other and we can really grow together. And so this is just one more thing and in an innovative approach to make that happen.
And I just want to add to one thing that I had brought up at the last meeting too, with some of the readings I had done about charter schools in general depend a lot on grant funding. And so I think at Dr. Minos level with Dr. Patterson and then board that we can have a discussion about that too, that we can try to get into. And I'm sure you've had experience with your past charter schools in Appleton, help with the funding by looking for grants. So,
or companies who are just like, hey, we want to be part of this, and so they endorse it in different ways, and that name carries, not only, and I'm saying endorsing in different ways, not only financially, but also like bringing people from that company to work with the schools, and that's just another way to make those things happen. But I think we've got great potential to make some of those things happen here.
All right. Okay, then, without any further discussion, I will entertain a motion to approve for purposes of tonight, the Charter Way High School. It's a contract, or how would we word that? Just approving the high school.
Yeah, the new high school, new charter high school for North Final Line.
There we go.
So moved. I'll second.
And then roll call when you're ready.
Matthew?
Yes.
Geckerman?
Yes.
Huck?
Yes.
Kowalski, yes. Jaeger?
Yes.
Motion approved. All right, item 3. Okay. Discuss and consider spring 2023 coaching agreements.
So I'm just going to show you, these are the agreements that we have in front for the spring. I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time other than we have these, we have to just say that, are we good with these moving forward in terms of the contract for spring? And I'm guessing you saw a few of these, but here's just some of those, breaking those things down as we look at everything from the financial lens. Track, baseball, softball, golf, soccer, and then middle school as well. Track.
And I will consider a motion then, or entertain a motion to approve the list of spring 2023 coaching agreements.
So moved.
Second.
I just have one question, can I ask you? A minute. So on the head coach, way down in the, girls soccer, I'm just curious why that one is more than all the other head coaches. I mean, is it because it's a longer season? Is it, I'm just curious.
I think it might be years of service when it's in there, so looking at that, how it breaks down, so.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think the years of service element's just been added recently, but in the past, it's been pretty much a time commitment involved, length of season and number of contests and stuff, so. All right. And then roll call?
Yeager.
Yes.
Hawk.
Yes.
Goldowski, yes. Geckerman.
Yes.
Matthew.
Yes.
All right, and then the last item is discuss and consider the employee resignation discussed in closed session earlier.
So, at Trevor Way, Luke Baker, one of our aides, OT aides, is asking for resignation at this point in time.
Okay. As indicated, we discussed it in closed session, so I'll entertain a motion to approve the resignation of Luke Baker from the Trefford School.
Make the motion.
I'll second. And then roll call?
Geckerman.
Yes.
Hawk.
Yes.
Goldowski, yes. Yeager.
Yes.
Matthew.
Yes.
All right, and then a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
And roll call?
Switch it up on you.
Matthew.
Yes.
Geckerman.
Yes.
Hawk.
Yes.
Goldowski, yes. Yeager.
Yes.
All right, meeting adjourned. Thank you, everybody. We stuck it out to the end.
Good night, everybody.